So let's do it. Let's head on out and say hello right now to head coach, Hall of Famer, El Paso Sun.
That's right.
Nolan Richardson, who's with us live on the phones right now. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great, Steve. How are you guys?
Oh, well, listen, we're good now. Now that you're here, we're happy. So
Well, great.
that's all that
I'm
matters. Now, let's catch up. We haven't spoken to you in a while. We're going to talk about the golf tournament a lot during this next 15 minutes or so because that's really the big news, that it's coming up and it's right around the corner. But you have had the chance over the last 3 or 4 months to enjoy that 50th anniversary of the 66 championship with so many people that you are close to and still are close to. You know, I've heard from them how great it was. How about for you to get a chance to do this one more time? What was it like?
Oh, man, it was absolutely phenomenal, Steve. Being able to get to El Paso and having a chance to see Harry again and little Artis and Jerry Armstrong. I mean, it goes on and on. Those guys were freshmen, again. Arston and Harry were freshmen when I was a senior, so I knew those guys. And, of course, I was right around there with Coach when they were bringing in Bobby Joe and Latin and all that. So I was the recruiter and spent a lot of time with trying to get them to attend Texas Western at the time. But to be able to get back and go over some of our old times and be able to see those guys and feel I know where they've been and hopefully where they were going. So it was a very, very pleasant experience for me to be able to be around them. I was lucky enough to go to the Final Four. They were up there to visit with them also. I've been blessed to have come up in an area and in a community and a town that means so much to me.
Do people, maybe if they don't understand the story, you had been one of the recruiters to try to bring so many of those players that ended up playing for the 66 team on board, because your last year was 63. Matter of fact, when you finished, Jim Barnes was in his junior year and then had that great senior season in 64 where the Miners went into the tournament. And it's crazy, but if you think about it, had Barnes not got into foul trouble in the NCAA tournament, many believe that the 64 team could have gone very, very deep.
Well, Steve, I really believe the 63 team could have gone. Jim Barnes was a junior that year, my senior year, and we played Texas. We had played Texas earlier, and then, of course, Jim had 4 fouls, I bet you, in the first 2 minutes of the game. So it was always something that I thought that had he been able to play, we would have been there. But then, as you said, in the following year, his senior year, the same scenario. I mean, it's very difficult to win ball games when you're on the free throw line shooting free throws and your best players are sitting on the bench watching.
There's no doubt. At the same time, I asked you this question on video. We posted the video, and I asked some of the other players the same question. I said, listen, the 63 or the 64 team, because you could take your pick because they were very similar teams, except you were on 63. So let's just take the 63 team versus the 66 team. Who would win? And you told me, you didn't even hesitate to believe that your Texas Western team would be able to handle the 66 team.
Would have beat them 20, Steve.
Coach, I love that. I mean, you have no idea. But again, it's just because of you had a talented group in itself, and people don't understand that.
We did have a wonderful, talented group of players with bad news being absolutely no one in the country was as good as he was around the basket. And Bobby Leslie was as smooth as silk from the guard standpoint. You had Willie Brown, who could score at any point on the floor. And, of course, you had Waitachi, which is me in Japanese. I could score if Coach Haskins would close his eyes and not look at me. So we had some talent. There was no question about it. Danny Vaughn was there. And, we had good size, good quickness. Played a little bit slower than the team that won the national championship.
Well, I mean that's because who was your point guard your senior year in '63?
Well, I had a combination with Willie Brown and Bobby Leslie.
And
Bobby Leslie.
Was Bobby Leslie and Willie Brown? I mean, you can imagine, but how would they have matched up with Bobby Joe?
Well, you know, Bobby is, to me, there were not very many people would actually match up with him. He was a different kind of basketball player. I think when he came in, he was like ahead of his time. You know, he was doing things that we hadn't even seen. Mm-hmm. And taking it between his legs, around his back, and doing his dog shot and slop shot, and not really. The guy played with no conscience, and it's not very hard. It's hard to play with no conscience, especially playing for the Bear. So when he was turned loose, there's no telling what he could accomplish. He was just a very difficult matchup.
At the same time, people don't really know this, but when Bobby Joe met Tina, his wife, you were right there for the. I guess to introduce the two of them. You were responsible for that.
Yeah, I've been trying to hide and not tell anybody that, but yeah, I was a part of that also. That's why I said Bobby and I became very, very close. He's closer. It was like a brother to me. Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of time with Bobby, and of course I know Tina so well. Matter of fact, Tina is the Woman of the Year at the golf tournament this year. We're honoring her. This is something that is hopefully it's been long coming, and we're being able to do something this year as we head toward our golf tournament.
How many years now are we talking about with the golf tournament? I mean, we've been doing this. Are you over 15? How many years?
29 years I've been involved with my golf tournament. Yvonne passed away 29 years ago. Right shortly after that, it was started off as a basketball game between the Tulsa University X's versus the minor X's, and then we moved from that into a golf outing. The guys kept getting older and older, and they couldn't get up and down the floor, so we changed over to the golf stuff. And it's been 14 years in El Paso since I started it actually here in Arkansas, bringing in all coaches from around the country to participate and to help raise money for those who are less fortunate. So I never stopped.
I can't believe it's been 29 years. That, to me, is the most unreal thing when you talk about it. And I also didn't know that this actually started as a basketball game with the former Miners against the former Tulsa Greats. Just out of curiosity, who played on that first minor team when you brought them in 29 years ago to hoop it up against the ex-Hurricanes?
You know, I remember Anthony Davis was there. They call him Birdman. It seemed like he was jumping out of the gym. I can't just right.
It's hard. Were there a lot of guys that were from the '60s that were on that team, or were they more like '70s? What do we deal or '80s?
We're talking about '80s.
Oh, okay. So you had more '80s minors. You didn't try to go back and get a lot of those guys that played with you 20-something years prior to hoop it up again and go up in that game.
I tell you, one night we had that game between the Miners and the Miners, which was our team 64 against the 66 team at UTEP. Matter of fact. My memory is not as sharp as it used to be, but that was the only time I thought we played a game that we were young enough, and Stockman was there, and Ladden was there. Mm-hmm. We're young enough to remember and play a decent. We played a pretty good game. It was at Memorial Gym.
Wow!
And so that brings back a lot of memories too. When we get together, we go over those days, and some of us don't remember, and some of us do.
Now, was the 64 versus 66 game played during the 66 season, or was that much years later at Memorial?
That was later.
Well,
after maybe 3-4 years, those guys had graduated from 66. Now we're getting. My team was a little bit older, but their team was still pretty good with Neville Shedd and Willie Cage.
Yeah.
Bobby Joe, all those guys were there at that game.
First off, if you played in the late 60s, which is what it sounds like it was, as you were in Memorial Gym, even you were probably late 20s at that point. So it wasn't even like you were in your 30s yet. And listen, when you guys in those years were still playing, I'm sure many of you from those 60s teams, you're in your 20s, whether it's mid to late 20s, doesn't really matter. You're still as competitive. The fire had to be there back then, even a few years after you graduated when you went on the court.
Oh, no question. I mean, we played so hard. I thought we played harder against each other to try to prove a point than we played against teams when we were actually in college trying to win a conference game or a regular season game. I mean, that's how competitive that game was. I mean, we really got after it.
Now, who won the game?
I want to say we did. I think it was the big upset.
I love it. That would be, well, I guess that would be an upset. The national champs lose to another
You
Utah
didn't think
team.
it was an upset.
No, of course not. First off, you think you can still beat them right now. I mean, that's exactly right. So we're chatting with Coach Nolan Richardson here on Sports Talk. Now, for people that want to get involved in your 29th annual charity golf tournament, let's do the particulars right now and let everybody know when it's going to be, where it's going to be, and what's going to happen.
Okay, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The 3rd is a Friday night. We have our banquet being held at BB's out there on Vista de Oro, 1150 Vista de Oro. That kicks it off. Actually, when we kick off, we have a 2 o'clock shootout. It's on a Friday, the 3rd. And it's a 5-hole. We set a format of just like the Final Four, and we play alternate shots, and it's a 2-man team.
Okay.
And it all takes place at the Underwood Golf Course at Fort Bliss. That's the 5th Friday. And then on the Saturday morning, it's tee-off is at 8. And what we do is we play both of the golf courses. We flight you at the end of the round. We flight you, and then on the final day, we all tee off at 8 in the morning on both golf courses at the Underwood Golf Course. A, B, C, and D flights. A, B is supposedly on the tougher side. And we play, hopefully by 1 o'clock, we're through with a golf tournament. It's a shamble. A shamble is different than a scramble. Shamble, you play more golf. In other words, the only time you get the driver hits the ball and you find the best drive. And from that point on, you play your own ball from all the way in. And we start off with the first day is the 2 best balls. You keep scores of your 2 best balls in your foursome. And on the final day, it's 1 ball, which is the low ball of the foursome. And you combine the scores of the 2 days and see who are your A champ, B champ, C champ, and D champ. Like I said, all takes place, the golfing event all takes place at Underwood's Golf Course. The person that's kind of in charge of the golfing outing is a young lady by the name of Prissy Elenis. And her phone number is, area code, of course, is there, 9115, but it's 252-9445. You can contact her and get involved in the golf tournament. We need your support. Our main office is at 591-2628. To get any other information that we would have to have, you would contact Nolan Richardson, all spelled in one word, info@gmail.com.
Excellent.
That's Nolan Richardson, spelled out, info. Nolan Richardson, info@gmail.com. That gives you all the information that we need, and we're looking forward to another great year in El Paso with this golf tournament and our banquet and our shootout. It's just a tremendous week. That's the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th.
Now, I've been to this banquet before. I've seen I've seen how this goes. It's awesome because nobody can work a room like you. And I'm not just telling you that because you're on the phones. I mean that. You're one of the most dynamic speakers I've ever seen, which is one of the reasons why I loved your Hall of Fame acceptance speech so much, because you stayed true to yourself. You did what you've been doing all these years. And I think everybody in the room that night, when they were listening to your acceptance speech, including the NBA commissioner, realized just how dynamic of a speaker you really are. And you'll get that at the banquet, which is going to be fun. But this is not just a one-night event. This is really a 3-day event, a lot of golf, which is what it's all about. But the best part is, Coach, is it goes to a great charity. And you mentioned you set this up 29 years ago with Yvonne.
35 charities.
Yep.
Steve,
How many?
35. We got a total of about 35 charities that we help out.
Wow.
And I didn't mention that our guest speaker this year, which will be a flavor of the 66, a bunch of those guys are coming in, hopefully, and some of the ones that were in my time will be coming in to play a little bit. But Neville Shedd is our guest speaker, and so it should be a lot of fun. We expect, we expect it to. We want to honor. We want to honor those guys that gave so much to the community, and that national championship. It can never be duplicated. It's what they did.
But you know what? Between you and Shedd, there's going to be no loss for words whatsoever at that banquet.
Well, I'm going to turn it over to him this time around.
Wow. Well, that's going to be great. And I know Neville Shedd enjoys those opportunities. And plus, again, your friendship over the years, that's what it's all about. I started the interview asking you about the 66 celebration, but, we mentioned this a lot over the year that this is probably going to be it, Coach. I mean, the golden anniversary, the 50th anniversary, is most likely the last time we're going to see so many of these guys together and get the opportunity to enjoy all the different events. I heard the Final Four was unbelievable and that they really, really rolled out the red carpet for the Miners when they were out there in Houston.
They really did. I thought the guys, again, it was a great thing for the NCAA to bring them and invite them up to the Final Four. It's just like it. It's a great thing for all of them to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. Of course, Coach Haskins would be double Hall of Famer, where his team gets to go and he as an individual was there already. So it's when I stop and think about Texas Western and the times and all these things as we were going through life, it brings back, sometimes I can't believe what I have gone through watching it develop, and the community develop, and the school develop, and the programs developing. It's just a wonderful thing, and hope that it can continue to grow.
Well, I'll say this. It's been 25 years since the Miners last won an NCAA tournament game, Coach. 1992. That was the Sweet 16 year. That's the last time the Miners won an NCAA tournament game. And, a lot of fans are getting, I don't want to say antsy, but it's long overdue that a basketball program that was so accomplished in the 60s and then again in the 80s has had to go through a drought this long to try to get back on the winning track in the postseason the way so many El Pasoans that have grown up here the way we have were used to for such a long period of time.
Well, I know exactly that feeling. I tell you a very short story that came out because of the book, the 40 Minutes of Hell book that Russ Bradbury wrote. He asked me a question. He said, what was the most devastating loss? I said, well, my daughter was my most devastating loss I've ever had. But to top that, the year that she was gotten sick with leukemia, and that's what this is all about, we played the Miners. I was at Tulsa University. And I said, the only thing is that I never coached the team after she got sick. They flew me to the game. I sit on the bench. And I was lost. And when the game was over, the Miners won by 1 or 2, maybe 3 points. But I'll never forget, when I got on the plane, one of the guys that flew me over there said, have you seen the stat sheet? And I said, no, I don't really care to see it. I'm going back to the hospital. My daughter was still in the hospital. And so I went on and took it, and I looked at the files, and we had 50 shots. We committed 55 fouls. I think the minors had 10, and we lose by 3. So I said, holy mackerel. But if I had to lose, I'd better have lost to Coach Haskins in the minors than to somebody else like that. So I know they won a championship game, a tournament game then. And, of course, after that, I think they was over in Arizona.
Yep. They've had some big wins over the years, just a matter of getting one back. Good story. I appreciate you sharing that from your Tulsa days and UTEP. And, Coach, all I can tell you is we're enjoying the conversation. Looking forward to seeing you here next month. Again, June 3rd, 4th, and 5th, folks. If you want more information on the golfing portion of the tournament, you can call Prissy at 915-252-9445. You can also email Coach Nolan Richardson info at gmail.com. That is Nolan Richardson info at gmail.com, especially if you're listening and you want to get involved. If there's a player, as a sponsor, it doesn't matter. It's a great tournament, and hard to believe now we're already into its 29th year. Unreal. Coach, can't thank you enough for the time and you joining us on the program today, and we'll look forward to seeing you when you get back in town here in early June.
Hey, thank you so much, Steve, and believe me, what a great individual you are. I appreciate you, and thanks a lot.